Hello, my name is Xavier Estevez, and for this week's assignment, I was going to look back at the data I had gathered during last week's focus group. Um, my topic was focused on the Redskin name being changed, or at the time being considered for a name change. This is because, for me at least as a sports fan, the topic has always been relevant. It's constantly being brought up every so often. Every couple of years during the off season, someone will bring up whether or not the Redskin name should be changed. Um, and it always causes a debate. But given the current social climate, uh, there's been a bigger push for the name being changed, and the defenders of it being more so looked at as just racists who just want to hold on to a forgotten era for no good reason. The research question I wanted to focus on answering was, how do people feel about a name that is based on a group from a certain race? Um, and I went about this by originally making a focus group of 8 panelists, uh, but due to the controversial nature of this topic, it was immediately cut to 4 after they learned they were going to be recorded. Because again, I had to probably get their consent. I had to give them everything, and so due to anonymity concerns, 4 of them immediately dropped out. And then in the middle of recording, it fell to 3 after one of our respondents' power went out after Transformer Blue. Um, the focus was to ask 3 evolving questions, with the first being, how do people feel about the Redskin name? Then comparing it to the Cleveland Indians, Chicago Blackhawks, and Kansas City Chiefs and see how they feel. Um, and then lastly, making it about how the most popular name for the Redskin change was the Red Tails, a African American Air Force regiment that it would still be about race. The only difference being is that it's now a positive homage, and that was the difference. And I wanted to see how people still felt about race being used. Um, so with my initial group, I've known these people for years, so I knew how people were going to answer to the Redskin question, with 50% not find the name offensive and 50% do find the name offensive. After the four pulled out, shock to no one's surprise, I feel. The 4 that pulled out were the ones that weren't offended by the name. They just not want to make it known who they were. And this, however, didn't really affect the demographics too much. With my initial demographic being 3 Native American, 3 Caucasian, and 2 Hispanic, with 5 being male, 2 being female, and 1 identifying as other, with 4 being in the age range of 18 to 21, 2 being 22 to 25, and 2 being 26 to 30. Didn't really change that much, as we had 1 Native American, 2 Caucasians, and 1 Hispanic, with 2 being male, 1 being female, 1 being other, and then 1 being 18 to 21, 1 being 22 to 25, and 2 being 26 to 30. I still kept, even though the participant lost power during the focus group, he still participated somewhat, so I still counted him in my demographics. And then I decided to compare the data I had collected with other data from other studies, one being the infamous Washington Post poll, which was found that 9 out of 10 Native Americans were not offended by the Washington Redskins name. However, a lot of inconsistencies were found in their methodology. One being that people felt that they were leading respondents towards not being offended as their answer, because it was not the main focus of the poll that was being conducted. So then I decided to compare it to a recent study done in February of 2020 by UC Berkeley. Using 1,000 Native Americans surveyed, they were asked if they were offended initially by the Redskin name, with just over half saying they were, and then breaking it down with 65% being offended by the Tomahawk Chop celebration done by many fans, but most infamously the FSU Seminoles. And then also asking them if they were offended by Native American dances, with 73% saying yes, they were. So I found my data had a lot of similarities with this one, which was properly taken. And then I decided to compare my last question with what the rest of the country is feeling, where, as you can see here, the 4 top names being proposed for the Redskin name, uh, going by state, you could see the Red Tails has a lot of people liking it. However, none of them are really close to the Washington area, whereas Warriors is has taken a lot of places closer to Washington, and the Red Hawks and Red Wolves really having uh, 5 and 3 states, so there's not a lot of pull there. But it definitely that seems like the rest of the country wants the Red Tails, whereas a lot of people closer to the DC area would rather just the Warriors and not have a name be based on race, which is what I found in my focus group as well. Uh, had I done this recording at least on July 9th, I would have said that another study should be done to see how non-Native Americans feel about the Redskin name. However, the Redskins have already announced that they're going to change the name. They announced that I believe it was either Friday or Saturday. Um, so that with the name already being changed, one of my recommendations already is moot. However, I do believe that no other team should have to change their name or logo other than possibly the Cleveland Indians, who they themselves are also already reviewing their name. They have already changed their logo from the original offensive red-faced chief to just a big red C. But the Indian name, some still find offensive, so the Cleveland Indians are reviewing their name and a possible change. I do, however, believe one recommendation I do believe, and this one I think should be carried out more than any other, is the Redskins are going to change their name by the end of this month. I believe in 5 years, once the team has really established themselves with this new name and new logo and everything, I believe another study should be conducted to see how people feel about this new name. Because they do go with the Red Tails, it's still about race. At the core, their name is still about race. It's just different in how they're using that race. Whereas the Redskins was purely racist and offensive. If they go with Red Tails, it's more of a positive homage and paying respect to the African American plight that was faced during the Civil Rights Movement. Um, but it would be interesting to see how people's responses change. Where do they really care that it's about race or that it's more so just offensive? And I believe that data would be interesting to see. So I do hope another study is conducted uh, in time. And I would like to thank you all for listening. This is my works cited, and thank you.